Parenting on purpose in the area of sexuality. Parents, I know that talking to our kids about sex or on the topic of sexuality can be really intimidating and stir up some nerves. But I think it's a topic that's worth focusing on and parenting on purpose with. As we think about the abilities category, I think it can be helpful to think of our kids, what is their maturity level? What is their age and their ability to process language and handle information? Another area that I think can be helpful is just their context. What's going on around them? What are they going to see and observe just in daily life that's going to give rise to questions or just information? If we know about that, then that's going to help us think, oh boy, that's something I need to speak into. Curiosity as well would be one of those abilities, I think, to think about. Some kids are going to be very naturally curious, and therefore we're going to have to think about sharing information probably earlier versus those that aren't quite as curious. As we move into the instruction category, I would just encourage you to move into the teaching and asking questions and inviting questions. Open that door today. You have information that will be helpful for them. That you have information that they need, and letting them know that you're available and that you're willing and that you're even going to share that information can be quite helpful with them. Let me even be just a little bit more specific on what you might share that would be age appropriate for different kids. So at a young age, we're probably going to be focused on talking to them about body parts and private parts and what are those parts for and why are they private. And then as you move forward, they get older, you might be moving into this space of talking to them about gender, godly masculinity, or femininity. What does that look like and how to live that out even when maybe some of the interest or desires fall outside of the norm. Those would be things to move into instruction with. And as they continue to get older and they develop and now they're experiencing sexual urges or desires, like how do we help them manage those things or think about them, or even to be aware of the desires that come up or the thoughts that come up? How do we think about the opposite sex or those that we're attracted to, and what would godly thinking and action look like, and how do those work together? What does it look like when we feel like we've done something or we know that we've done something that's outside of what God says is right? What does repentance look like, and who can we come to, and how are we going to respond? To give instruction in that, in the practice, for us to think about if our child has a difficulty with self-discipline, that's going to show up in this area of sexuality. And sometimes we can practice that. What does that look like to manage the urges and desires? But also that we can practice self-discipline in other areas, that whether that's food or getting up at a certain time or those sorts of things, that we're giving them a model of like, hey, we can exercise this muscle of self-discipline in lots of different areas. It's not just in this area. So what does it look like to grow in that if that's maybe a challenge? Another thing that you might think about as a parent is just putting scenarios on the table, like what would you do if this text is sent to you, or you see this picture, or you get this request? I think that can be a really helpful way to practice getting them to think about how they would respond, and giving them a safe place to practice that can be very beneficial for them. Sexuality is certainly one of those places that can be difficult to step into, and I would just encourage you to parent on purpose in the area of sexuality.